Wow, this is so professional. Like it tells us when we're live. I love that. That's what I miss from, when using Zoom, for instance.
Hi everyone. I think we are live
Hi, guys.
today. Welcome everyone to our webinar, today's webinar. And as you might have guessed, we will speak about ads, and more ads. Yeah, my name is Mitch. I'm from MGID, and I run inbound sales part of the business here at MGID, and we work mostly with our platform, self-registered clients. So we are here, always here to help you guys achieve best results and help you on board in the platform. And I'm very proud to present a special guest today, Andre from NativeHub, Xevio, who is an expert on the market in all types of formats, ads with huge experience. And today we will speak mostly about native, right? And
That's the intention, right?
strategies, approaches. Yeah. Andre, the floor is yours. Tell us more about your experience.
Absolutely. Well,
Really
thanks very
curious
much.
to.
Thanks very much for having me. Really appreciate it. And guys, thanks very much for joining. Welcome. I think there's a very exciting reason we're all gathered here. It's not just to talk about native ads in general, talk about the MJD's platform, but rather talk about, the consumer psychology behind it, because this is something that there isn't really talked about much these days. People mostly focus about, the trends or, how to copy your competitor and try to replicate success, which it might be a reasonable approach to getting started, but it's certainly not something you would call a long-term strategy. So what we're going to talk about during this webinar is not just how to use the platform or what kind of approaches to test at the initial stages, but rather how to build a long-term strategy using psychology and different frameworks and just a little bit of insights to spice things up. But I myself come from I myself come from the native advertising background. I co-founded a company called Xevio, which is a holding company enabling success on native on all the traffic sources, including MJD. And NativeHub is one of our projects that is partnered with MJD. We work quite closely, mostly on the education side. So we've created this project using our own experience managing 9-digit budgets on native advertising, supporting large brands and some affiliate brands. And the project essentially is a live consulting platform with lots of insights and education proprietary materials that we've recorded ourselves. So today we'll be sharing a fraction of this, just, a part of the secret recipe to success, so to say, but it would be up to you to find the secret sauce.
So it's gonna be bigger than just platform and ads. It's about psychology, understanding how people think, how they make decisions, and
That's
that
correct.
is vital actually for this kind of business, and therefore basically affiliate marketers that use different types of approaches and combines different ways to create their funnel and bring conversions into play, right? Okay, so Andre, I have to start with, before we start with our presentation and discussion, I have a question. When personally, when I first had the chance to see and touch the funnel of running native campaigns and stuff, so I had a question: is this gonna work at all? Like no way it's this gonna bring me any conversions, or who gonna click on that?
When was that?
So
How many years ago was that?
yeah, I think it was 6 years ago, and
Right.
before I worked with mostly with programmatic funnels with display and video, so it was different. And I had this weird feeling, and I asked myself, who's gonna click on that? And now I understand that I was wrong. So that thought that I came across with, it's not that true. So when you get into that, you start understanding what's going on with people's, again, decision making and habits and so on and so forth. So what was your first feeling when you started working with this
I think
type of funnels?
well, first of all, I was genuinely confused. I still am confused sometimes, but I think first and foremost, native ads have evolved massively. The approaches that used to work on native back in the days, they no longer work these days simply because the consumer and the consumer behavior has evolved along with it. So people no longer believe in the storylines. I mean, in some cases they do, but generally, if we talk about the tier 1 countries where the journalism keeps evolving rapidly, the consumer behavior, the habits, the way people interact with content and the content they believe has evolved massively. So we can no longer be surprised with the approaches that people get engaged with. So let's say what I was surprised with back in 2017 or 18 when I was just getting started, that's not something you see these days. Maybe certain elements of it, yes, but not anymore. So at that time, I was like, who would click on this stuff? Why would people believe in this?
Yeah, exactly.
In this approach. But at the same time, I feel like native ads have evolved from being clickbaity, because clickbait is when you promise something and you never deliver, evolved into an actual medium for creating intrigue. Because if you really want to ensure high post-click performance, high conversion rates, what you promise in your ads, you need to deliver in your funnel afterwards. So there is no longer clickbait. Hence, I get surprised less and less. These days, I see ads and I'm like, okay, that's a compelling story. That's a compelling intrigue. I really want to click and explore more. And then I want to continue exploring. I want to continue reading and learn more about the product or service someone's trying to advertise to me. But at the same time, I think we need to keep in mind that we're professionally spoiled, you and I, because we've been inside. We've seen the backstage. We've seen how things work under the engine, how the engine works essentially. And most of the people they're not. So like the same way I, for instance, don't know how airplanes work, and someone would say, well, that's really easy. How can you not know this? Equally, if we apply the same logic to ads, you and I, we've been pushing ads for years. So we would be like, that's rubbish. Why would someone click on this? But at the same time, it's simply because we're flying high in this sense. And most of the people, they just see a story and they get intrigued by it, and they don't really see ads. They see a potential solution to their problem, which I think, by the way, is a very nice segue into our presentation, because we don't really sell products, we sell solutions. I think we should have called this, we should have used this, so good for a name. I think I'll repurpose this. We don't sell products, we sell solutions.
Exactly. And this reminds me, what you just mentioned, it reminds me, I don't know, probably movie industry, when all the people love stories and they love some interesting stories, and basically digital marketers create the same type of stories wrapped up in sell funnels, right? So, and the more interesting the story is, the more potentially revenue and profit this can bring.
Very good point. It's a very good point. But even like if we apply the same metaphor that you started with films, for instance, most of the films are created using the classical Greek strategy framework, which is you have an introduction, then you have the conflict, then you have a person, the main character protagonist dealing with the conflict, and then eventually coming out of it and learning something. So this is like the classical approach, and with native is very similar. You have a very traditional approach, which is a problem agitate solution one. We'll talk about it in a moment, but then you play around with it and you improvise a little bit to ensure that it is appealing to a more maybe spoiled is the wrong word, but for the lack of a better word, appealing to a more spoiled audience, a more educated one, I suppose.
Yeah, and we have to, our goal is to educate both the audience and the digital marketers, the guys that run those campaigns. And this is actually why we are here today. Guys, I hope everyone can hear us after this Long intro, but yeah, we would like to see how many of you joined already. So if you don't mind, please send us something in the chat. And we already, you can see the presentation on your screen. So we are about to start. Okay, guys. Hi.
Hello, guys. Hello, world.
Hi. Hello, world.
There we go.
Hey.
I feel like we
Yeah,
can
I can see that the guys can hear us already. Everything works and functions up and running. So, Andrei, the first part is yours. We will just for you guys to understand the agenda. Andrei will share, a lot from his expertise and background. Will tell us more about the different platforms, approaches, strategies, and people behavior, as we already discussed. And also, in the end, I will, briefly go through the main features of our updated platform, because we have released a new, redesigned dashboard recently, and not everyone is still familiar with that. But I would like to show our main features, and also, probably hear your questions, and discuss what we can do internally in our system, specifically in MGID, to improve revenues, conversions, and make our business successful. So let's start.
Cool stuff. I feel like we can skip this slide because we've been doing the introduction for quite a while and we kept it really engaging. just really in short, I'm co-managing an agency and education project. I've been in the native industry since 2017/18. I started as a sales manager at a well, we can call it competing company, but then eventually I joined forces with one of my large clients who I've met in Kiev a few years ago, and we decided to form a company and explore something beyond. And by the way, thanks very much for sharing my details in the chat in case you want to reach out and speak more. But yeah, we decided to join forces and essentially explore the world outside a single platform, but rather work with multiple platforms at the same time, work with multiple experts from all over the world, and focus on enabling success on native for everyone. Mitch, I think you're frozen. Oh, you're not. Okay. I thought you were frozen for a second.
I'm just listening attentively.
And I appreciate this. No, so the idea behind it was just to work with all the traffic sources and continue learning about the native ads in general, because native ads, the way they're treated these days, and I think we can go to the next slide, is they're not really treated as complementary. They're treated as something that you should be running when Facebook or Google starts working. But can we go to the next slide? I don't think I see it. Yeah, there we go. We can skip this one as well. We can get back to it later, but I really wanted to show you this slide afterwards. Native ads, they typically treat it as a traffic source that you should try after running Google and Facebook. But at the same time, I think it's a mistake. It should be used in complement with the existing traffic sources, not just because it's a massive traffic source on its own. There are multiple players in the industry like MGID and a couple of others on the previous slide. But MGID, for instance, reaches almost 1 billion monthly active users. That's a lot. And I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should be running all the platforms simultaneously at the same time, but you should consider running all of them if you would like to sell to more consumers globally. And in my opinion, it's relatively easy to repurpose whatever you have on Facebook and on Google to run on native. I think the only difference here with, let's say, Google, which is high intent, and Facebook, which is high targeted, is that native typically is considered a colder type of traffic, right? So in order for you to sell something to the audience on native, right, you really need to warm up the audience. Hence, one of the most popular frameworks that we tend to recommend for promoting on native is called PAS framework, so Problem Agitate Solution. If we could go to the next slide. There we go. So this is more of a visual representation how it looks like. 3-step funnel. The first one is something which you might refer as a banner. which is not, it cannot really be found all over the place. It typically is located below the article where the audience is most recipient to the idea of reading more. Because the reason it's called native is because it's located in the space where the audience is most recipient to the idea of accepting some new information. Yet it's called traffic because they've just been reading content, right? So the audience wants to continue reading content. They're not really interested in buying your product, buying your gadget, or let's say investing into your solar panel, which costs 20 grand, right? So the idea is that you need to create the intrigue. And later, you need to unpack the intrigue. You need to give a bit more information so the audience learns more about the intrigue and is introduced with a solution, which later can be either sold at a discount, if we're talking about a D2C product, or it could be sold at a slightly longer sales funnel via survey or lead generation form, or so on and so forth. But typically, again, you never sell like on Google, where there is high intent, or on, let's say, Meta, where there is a lot of targeting involved. Rather, you sell it through content. So the next slide, there is a bit more information.
And the challenge here is that you have to basically blend this into the content and at the same time be clickbaity enough, right? So this first step is very tricky, and you really have to find this approach, and sometimes play with different combinations just to find this perfect mixture of blending and clickbaitness. Yeah.
I wouldn't even use the word clickbait, to be honest. I would rather talk about the high engaging, high CTR type of ads. But the reason I would say native ads are no longer clickbaity is because, again, we talked about it a bit earlier. It used to be all about clickbait because no one really wanted to pay high CPCs. Everybody just wanted to compensate lower CPCs with very high CTRs, which is still the case for the majority of performance advertisers, let's say Content, for instance. But at the same time, imagine you are trying to sell a computer mouse, right? Like an Apple one. And then rather than selling a mouse, you're creating a clickbaity ad that says, we're going to sell you the best technology in the world. Of course, naturally, I would be inclined to click because I'm prone to, believing in words like the best. I'm intrigued by it. I'm like, okay, what's the best technology? Then I see that it's just a generic Apple mouse, right? So I'll be like, okay, you tricked me into clicking, but I'm not buying. Do you really want to be a marketer who pays for the clicks that deliver low post-click performance? Of course not. There needs to be congruency. It needs to be seamless. It needs to be a storyline. It's almost like I'm saying, hey, how about, learning about a product that is being purchased by 10,000 computer users in your area? I'm like, okay, 10,000 people in my area, I live in London, are buying this product that is being used by computer users. Like, do I need to buy it as well? But then I see that it's a computer mouse. I'm like, okay, I want to learn why this specific mouse is being purchased by 10,000 people. And this is where you can come in with some USPs. And if we go to the next slide, we'll learn a bit more about it. So we talked about the problem, agitate, solution. But we as marketers, we all need to be a little bit like journalists and psychologists, right? We don't want to come across as sleazy salesmen who are trying to push their agenda or sell a vacuum cleaner straight away the moment the door's opened. You need to warm up the audience. You need to build up the interest. You need to provide a couple of USPs. And most importantly, and this is something what we pretty much started with, you really don't sell the product. You sell the solution to the problem that you identify. The reason someone clicks on your ad is because they have a problem. And you introduce this problem in the banner, in your original creative. When people click on it, that means they have a problem. That means they're hooked by the problem that you introduced. And it's your job to say, don't worry, got you covered. We also have a solution, and it comes with multiple USPs. There is social proof saying that it works. And if you buy today, because tomorrow is Black Friday, you're gonna get a nice 10, 25, whatever the amount of discount. And please hurry, because there's only 99 solutions left. Otherwise, everything's already sold out.
Right. Yeah.
So that's typically the approach.
One question here, Andrew, if you let me. Does any, can you find a user that doesn't have any type of problem, or you can find a problem in everyone? When we sell
Everybody has a problem. You got a problem?
Yeah, probably I have, yeah, some, but it
I think
doesn't mean
everybody's got a
that
problem.
the right funnel will reach me at the right moment. So uh, I think it's important to say here that you guys should understand that it should be a match of the audience and the problem and the solution, as Andre
Mhm.
said. And there is a sort of gambling as well here, but the more precise and the more thoughtful approach you are using, and you think about the product and the solution more, the more results you can achieve. But
That's correct.
you cannot count on 100% conversions all the time, because
That's
it's
that's that's correct. Um, Something to
something.
keep in mind is native is perfect for products with broader appeal. If you're trying to outreach CMO sitting in a very specific area, you're probably going to fail. This is why, let's say, B2B, in most of the cases, in my experience, different people will tell you different things, but in my experience, B2B fails miserably unless you're doing upper funnel with native. If we're talking about lower funnel, generating leads, finding loyal customers, or trying to sell multiple products at the same time, this is where native flourishes. But if you're trying to target niche audiences, unless you have some significant contextual data, in this case, unless it's in this case, you typically do not succeed. Native is perfect for broader appeal products, which you can sell applying the framework we just discussed. So problem, agitate, solution. And getting back to your original question about whether everybody has a problem, everybody does. Everybody wants to look good. Everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants to feel warm when it's cold outside, or cold when it's too hot outside. That's universal problems. If you keep those in mind, you will always succeed. And at the same time, we don't really have a slide here, but it's something that I sometimes preach is, if you're a marketer and you're already a salesperson and a psychologist and a journalist, you also need to be a researcher. Before you try to sell a vacuum cleaner to someone, you really need to first understand whether their home is dusty enough. Okay? So like if you're trying to sell a solar panel in Iceland, well, the chances are, unless it's like heavily governmental subsidized, you're going to fail because there is not enough sunlight.
Exactly. Yeah.
Although at the same time, we're seeing a lot of success in Germany. Like last year, it's probably an outdated example these days, but like last year, we were spending about 100K a day on solar panels in Germany alone for a brief period of time until we crashed the call center. But we managed to succeed with this because we were not trying to sell solar panels to someone who was trying to, find some sunlight in the winter Germany, but rather we were using the financial angle, saying like, hey, you can generate passive income. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And again, which brings me to the original point is everybody wants to be rich, or not rich, but everybody wants to make extra money. So it's about finding a perfect angle. Now, if we go to the next slide, perfect angles are everywhere. Sorry, like there's a weird pop-up appearing on my screen. I really hope it's not a push notification that someone's collecting. Anyway, angles are everywhere. And even if you think that you've known all of them, my advice to you would be to research and always try to consume as much media as possible from anywhere. This is some of the most premium examples. Let's say if you're trying to sell a weight loss product or a beauty product, or even some D2C product or a solar panel, see what large media outlets are writing about it. Or not necessarily about this particular product, but about the competitive products. Get some ideas. And ultimately, you'll see that even the largest websites, let's say Forbes is one of the biggest ones, Men's Health, they're using very similar approaches to all the affiliate marketers are using. These approaches are universal, especially if you're dealing with content, right? Top 10 products that work best. Or do you want to get more? Do you want to explore more? It's all over the place. And it's all very similar. So get inspired by researching the industry, understanding what the problems people have in the specific geo that you intend to target. And if you intend to target, let's say, a large geo, but at the same time you're just getting started, meaning that you might be tight on the budget, maybe it's a good idea to explore smaller geos, right? let's say it doesn't necessarily mean you need to immediately start in the US simply because everyone's running in the US and because you speak English. Hire some copywriters, or I don't know, use AI, use DeepL, use ChatGPT to translate your content into Spanish and run Mexico, for instance. It's huge in MGID. Or run APAC, Vietnam, for instance, or run Italy. You know, it's very easy to translate your content, just localize it, maybe by doing a little bit of research and understanding what the local problems are. And there you go. And maybe read some local news to see what people are engaged with and what type of products people are lacking. Because let's say in the UK, the problem is insulation. It's really freaking cold here, even if you live in the new build. Or let's say, I don't know, in Germany, the problem is, you know, the heating is too expensive because they're mostly using coal or at least these days, or gas to generate electricity rather than, say, for instance, nuclear or solar panels. So heat pumps are a hit simply because it's subsidized by the government, and secondly, because people want to feel warm. Once you understand this, you'll be able to understand what to sell to these audiences. But you don't really need necessarily to go big with your research. For instance, on the next slide, there is an idea that we discovered a couple of months ago. There are lots of small local sites, or for instance, very niche websites. So Snopes is a website that, what's the word for this? Disbands myths, right? So like, you know, remember there were Mythbusters who were saying, oh, you know, it doesn't work. Yeah, remember? So they say this doesn't work, or it sounds like a myth. We're gonna see if it's actually true. So this is the website that addresses some internet myths. So for instance, I used it multiple times to produce copy, just to get inspired, right? Because a couple of years ago there was a product called Alpiline, I think it was called. Yeah, Alpiline. There we go. Like here, which was a product which was first found on ClickBank, then on MarketSwap, and a couple of other partners, which was a VSL, particularly popular in the US. After they sold, I don't know, millions of products, at some point someone read an article about it, which says, hey, it doesn't work. Sure, it might work or might not work. I don't care. What I care about is that taking the copy that someone produced and reverse engineering it to produce new copy. If someone says this product doesn't work because ABC, I'm going to reverse engineer it and say, hey, there's an alternative study that says that B and C, in fact, is wrong. It works. Here's why. And I'm going to repurpose it into my next copy, promoting not Alpiline, but something else.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah. Cool.
So you can find inspiration in all the unusual places. Now, if we go to the next slide, we're going to talk about the persuasion psychology, because I feel like what we've been discussing is a really nice segue into this. You've done your research. You found out what kind of product you would like to sell. You understand what kind of problem this product is solving. Now it's time to think about the angle. And again, you can either get inspired by someone else's copy. Whenever rip off, you don't want to steal someone's content simply because it's unethical. But if you don't care about ethics, think about performance. If you're competing for the same impression, you're just cannibalizing each other. So if you speak data, you don't speak emotions. Think in terms of data. You're cannibalizing someone else, meaning that you both fail eventually. There's only so many times you can repurpose the same copy without making a single change. Trust me, as someone who's launched close to 1,000 different advertisers in my time at a different traffic source, a lot of people tried copying someone else's success. They all failed, all of them. What you do is you take someone's content, you get inspired, you rework it, you create your own story, and then you succeed. Or you fail 20 times, but you succeed the 21st time once you find your perfect angle. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to help you find this angle by coming back to the ancient Greeks. I feel like we started talking about the Greeks initially, the Greek tragedy, and you can use it basically to produce copy. So there are like three main approaches to persuasion psychology. One is appealing by ethics, the other one appealing by emotion, and the third one appealing by logic. And I was once presenting this in front of a Greek audience, and I completely forgot about it. So I was like, guys, so ethos means ethics. And they're like, we know. I'm like, right, of course. So that was very funny. But anyway, starting with ethos on the next slide, I'm going to break it down in a sec. Or we start with logos. Sorry about that. So logos is logic, right? So you can think about the numbers. So you use very strong arguments and proofs, because there are different types of people, but typically one of the ways to categorize it is to split different characters in 4 categories. You can say people who are cholerics or sanguinics or phlegmatics or melancholics is one of the ways of looking at it. Or you can apply it to business terminology and think that someone who is a choleric, they probably, they don't have enough time. You need to speak with them in very simple terms, in pitches. Or someone who is typically sanguine, that means, they're more easygoing, they're more friendly, it's someone you build relationships with. Or someone who is phlegmatic, he or she, there's someone who is more logic driven. So if you're trying to sell to these people, you might think about throwing a couple of numbers in your presentation or in your copy. Or maybe, adding some quotes from credible sources, right? Or spicing things up with unique selling points because you want to be precise why your product is solving their problem. Here is an example on the next slide. There we go. So I don't speak Spanish, although I aspire to, but that's one of the examples. You're saying, well, here is a doctor or here is a specialist, and the specialist is saying that, this particular product is solving your issue because. So if you have any Spanish-speaking people in the audience, do we have anyone? Or everyone's shy or non-Spanish speaking? Anyway, let us know afterwards. But basically, this is the type of approach that you're using. If we go to the next slide, ethos. So the ethics. You rely on personal experience or the credibility of the narrator. Hence, testimonials, or qualifications, or let's say, I don't know, like a personal blog. Have you ever seen this before? Anyone? Like when you have someone saying, you know what, I used to be tired all the time. I would look in the mirror and, I would see wrinkles. But then eventually I started using X as a product, not as something that used to be formerly known as Twitter. And, this X solved my problem. Oh, there we go. Sophie is here helping out. Thanks a lot. So let's go to the next slide and you'll see what I'm talking about. There we go. We have a problem introduced in the banner, and then we have a solution which is being introduced in a personal blog where the person is reading in the first person. This helps generate trust, create credibility. Now, the final one, let's go to the next slide, is pathos, appeal by emotion, which is very similar to ethos, yet it's relying mostly on mediums, or, it relies on the appeal to your audience's emotions, right? So you're trying not just necessarily creating a first-person written story or throwing a couple of numbers to convince someone to think a certain way, but rather you can manipulate emotions or you can help create emotions, but essentially you're building this attachment to the product, or you're appealing to the problem that the person has when you're saying, hey, you feel cold in your apartment. So do I, because I also live in the UK. And until I got this amazing heater, I always struggled. But now, after I got this $29.99 or pound heater, now I feel happy and I feel warm, and it doesn't burn enough electricity. So I'm saving the planet.
Yeah, and emotions is a booster for fast decision making.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. So that's a very good point.
The final, final straw that can make the audience really convert and buy your product, because you played all these previous steps in rationality, explanation, and stuff like this, and when you get to emotion, this is the final.
That's
stop for the buyer. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Cool.
Let's go to the next slide. We will see an example. That's what we talked about. So emotion. We were saying, here's the person. This person also struggles, but this person also discovered a solution, which just for you and just today, 50% discount. And this also is linked to the final method, which hasn't been mentioned previously, which is called Kairos. You're going to see it on the next slide. which is referred to as time. So sense of urgency, right moment or fear of missing out, and finally time span. So which is connected to the very first one, which is low cost data. When you say we just created this amazing product, people will be a little bit skeptical. But if you say we've been selling this product for 10 years and we've, helped 1 million people, please don't lie about this. Please don't make things up. Rather create a good product that you can actually sell for at least a couple of months. But this is certainly USP if you can rely on the data like this. Now, let's go to the next slide. This is my personal favorite and a personal favorite of my team, and should be a personal favorite of everyone. And it is free. It's called Microsoft Clarity. It allows you to analyze the engagement on your pages. So if you're creating copy, you can be a big brain who's done all the research and who thinks that they understand everything about the consumer psychology, but without actually analyzing the data after you've collected it, you'll be nowhere near success. Create a landing page, drive some traffic to it, see the post-click performance, see the LPCTR, see the engagement, measure it, and make a data-driven decision. And you don't necessarily need to be, spending a lot of money. We've talked about choosing the right geo, not necessarily focusing on massive geos, but maybe picking a smaller one where, the traffic source you're working with is stronger in. But at the same time, invest a couple of hundred, maybe if the geo is a little bit larger, maybe $1,000 or $2,000. It's not that much, because the mindset that you should embrace is investment. You're investing in the data to not just find what your CPA would be in the first day or the second day. No, that's what Facebook's for. Good luck using it. But if you'd like to sell to more people, leverage native, collect enough data, measure the impact of your content. And if you see that there is high engagement, people are clicking, people are buying, and you've collected enough data, this is the time to start optimizing your publisher set and finding the right traffic list for your particular product. Can we go to the next slide, please? There we go.
I think that's
it from my side.
Thank you, Andrew. This comparison to Greek terms and terminology was something new to me. Actually, you wrapped up really cool. And guys, so I learned 3 main pillars this whole affiliate funnel and native advertising is based on is, as Andrew said, this is running a test, collecting the data, analyzing the data. It's crucial all the time in native ads. Analyzing the data is crucial. And then you start optimizing, because you have to scale up. You have to remove the sources you don't need and plug in new sources that bring your conversions, right? So these are 3 main pillars of success here. And this is why I just wanted to, briefly go through as I previously mentioned, go through the new updated platform. And but before we start again, guys, this is probably for someone it may sound like basics. Please bear with us if we explain something that you already know. But it's always useful to go back and check its basics and then review what you already achieved and how you can work in a different way. Probably test new approaches, try new technologies, because everything is changing. It's not a secret that AI is a trendy now.
I was literally about to say, it's so easy to test these days with new AI features which are inbuilt or available externally. Like, it's super easy.
So actually, this is something we're gonna speak about a bit later.
There we go. Sorry.
So let's start. The first step, as you can see, is to create a campaign. It's easy. It sounds easy, always, like not a big deal. But what I wanted to, focus here on this screen is that in MGID, in any other platform, and particularly in MGID dashboard, we have different type of campaigns you can create. Product campaign, content campaign. You can use search feed, and you have to get prepared to different type of funnels when you plan your campaign, when you create your campaign in the system. For product campaign, you should keep in mind that you have an offer or a product you own, and probably it can be weight loss, it can be insurance, it can be solar panels. So basically something that you can sell, and it's something you can create a story about, like Andrew mentioned already. Content promotion campaign is more about boosting up your audience on your website and bring more audience to your website. With search feed, for example, you have to have a search feed from a feed provider. It's a more complicated and advanced topic. We won't speak a lot about this, but if you need help with search feed campaigns, for example, our guys from my team at MGID will always help and advise you on how to proceed further. But okay, let's check the next one about creating simple product campaign. As I mentioned, and one more important thing was MGID and with native ads in general is that you don't have to know a lot about targeting, right? So you do targeting with a lot of things, including those psychological, emotional moments Andrew was talking about, and you just need to use the basic targeting in order to create your campaign technically and to pick up the region, the country you're going to buy inventory from. And this is MGD made it as simple as possible. So you can exclude or include countries. You can go deep down and even target the cities and the states. For example, if you have a product that you cannot run in all the states in US, so you can just exclude Arizona, for example, and don't spend your money on that region. The same goes with browser languages and so on and so forth. So MGID provides you with a major and necessary targeting capabilities you need. And pay attention to the reach potential audience reach meter that we have on the right side. So every time you make a change, you can see how you cut or increase the volumes, the audience you can buy in our system. Okay, let's move on. So the next one is one more crucial step. The next crucial step is budgeting and limits. Again, MGID always is trying to make it as simple as possible for you when you start working with the system. So we have all the suggestions about the CPC price if you would like to limit your campaign by budget, and you can set up daily limit, you can set up the general limit, overall limit for the campaign, and so on and so forth. So you can see the recommended CPC recommendation range. But if you have doubts, if you have any questions, or you want to be competitive in the auction, on the market, in the specific geo, you can always ask the team, the success team, to help you with decision making here as well. So basically, the 3 steps is campaign setup, budgeting, and of course conversion tracking. Getting back to what Andrew said about analyzing data and making right decisions, conversion is a vital part. On the next slide, we will see different variants of tracking for available at MGID. Again, the easiest one is MGID Pixel, because you just need to copy and paste a piece of code we provide and set up your conversion goals. And here you go. It works right away with the required tracking tags, macro, and so on. Some people prefer using postback in native, and there are a lot of enormous amount of postback solutions on the market. It's up to you to decide, because they have different costs, they have different functionality. There are some famous solutions on the market, and less popular. But again, you can always find help with our success support team if you get any troubles with tracking. So again, tracking is important for further data analysis. Okay, let's move on. I guess the coolest and the sexiest part here is about ad creatives, because we improved the system here so much that you just sometimes you just need to make a couple of clicks and you get the images for your ads and titles and everything in one place. We, of course, as I mentioned, following the trends, and we also integrated our AI generative solution both for titles and for images. So you can, as you can see on the screen right now, you can just use your URL for a landing page with your story, with your content, and our system will offer different options of titles for your creatives, for your ads. And you can add your images manually. You always can upload your own images, creatives, the ones you used on other platforms, or you can create new ones, to do the A/B testing, to compare the performance of different ads in the platform. And on the next slide, we will see how easy it is right now to generate the image with a simple prompt through generative AI solution. So this is a standard weight loss offer, and we added already 2 images that are kind of catchy, probably clickbaity, but we would like to give it a try with other ideas. And you remember the initial discussion about the story, about the ideas, and we have to test different
attention grabbing.
Yeah, exactly. And now I would like to try a more healthy approach with a clean glass of water, with a bunch of raspberries in it, and AI generative solution with a simple prompt allows me to generate that and add to my campaign just in a few clicks. You just type in the text, and here you go. And also you can preview thumbnails in different formats with different aspect ratio, and see how this or that ad will look like on different type of devices. So easy as 1, 2, 3. We even made an improvement. I will speak about this later to this module, and let's move on. The crucial part, again, getting back to analyzing data, right? So we have a selective bidding mechanism as a specific tool. We, in the new version of our dashboard, we're trying to simplify it as much as possible. And I would like to, go through some standard scenarios of optimization here, basics. You can, as you can see, you can buy inventory, you can buy audiences from different domains. And this is also an improvement, by the way. So now you can see the domain names in the list, so you can optimize by knowing the website you spend your budget for. And for example, if the CPA goal you set in the system is higher with this particular widget, with this particular website, you can simply, and if it's twice as high as you planned, you can simply switch it off. So you turn off the sources you don't need, the ones that do not perform for your campaign. On the next slide, it's vice versa. Basically, we can see that we get nice results with a specific website, and we can boost up the spans and buy more clicks from this particular source by increasing the coefficient. You increase the CPC price by doing that only for the specific widget, for the specific source. And that allows you to, do those tiny controlling of what's going on with the list of your sources. So as you can see, is also on one page, it's easy to analyze, it's easy to make a decision, and you can do daily optimization. You can do that twice a week, but depending on the situation, depending on the performance. And of course, we have a team who can help you, do the daily optimization, especially if you have high budgets and you need to keep track on a daily basis. The next one and the last one is about optimization. Is when we have to, it's again vice versa. We have to downgrade the ratio, downgrade the threshold of CPC and coefficient just to lower. We can see that, for example, some CPE goal is almost reachable, but it's not, and we still not profitable for particular website. So we can decrease it. It's too early to switch it off completely. We would like to test it more to gain more data to analyze, and we just decrease the coefficient to decrease the CPC for this specific source. Okay, and the last one, I guess, is some improvements we did, recent improvements related to AI and basically analytics. Is that there is a feature that is called Performance Predict that can help you make a prediction, basically, of based on our data we have in our system. When we have a lot of data, we have a lot of campaigns. This is basically a hint for you, and probably a piece of advice the system is given, and to pay your attention on specific creatives that are going to perform, or the ones that are not likely to perform well, and you have to think of replacing them. Of course, it's up to you to make a decision, but when it's all red and you can see that, I'd better go with another option to make my A/B testing and gain higher CTR. So this is helpful. This create ads interface is really helpful and cool. So you guys should give it a try. Andrew probably have seen that all already, and his team tried to make use out of that. But guys, again, if you have questions, my team is always here, always ready to explain. There are a lot of buttons and options in our dashboard, but believe me, it's easy. Yeah, and I can see a question from Omar. CPC is in cents. That's right. That's correct. We measure CPC in USD cents. We have multi-currency accounts as well, so you can, depending on the location you create your account in and your financial entity, you can, when you set up your account, you can pick up different options. Okay, so I think this is it. We are ready to, we have a couple of questions I can see in our contact form, in our questionnaire. And I would like to, we don't have too much time, but I would like to read a couple of them.
Let's do that.
And Andre and I will try to answer as much as we can. What are the key metrics I should use to track and measure the success of my campaign on MGID? I think on every platform, right? I think the key metrics are, of course, starting from the bottom, from the top of the funnel, as a CTR of your creatives, right, of your ads, and you have to get enough clicks to make optimization, to make a decision, and to analyze data properly. So I will start with CTR and the number of clicks, And of course, the conversion rate matters because you have to, as we just discussed, to optimize your sources, you have to keep track of conversion rating for the specific source. Right, Andrew?
Yep.
And these are the basics. You know, we can go deep down to other things and factors, but we need to take a look at the specific cases, specific campaign and product funnel, just to track other nuances that may be involved into the performance.
Can I add?
Also,
okay.
Yeah.
No, didn't
How
mean
soon
to
can I
just
start?
continue.
Yeah. How soon can I start seeing results, and what should I do if my initial campaign don't perform
Do you mind if I add to the metrics?
Yeah. Sure. Go on. This is
Sorry,
what I need, actually.
Yeah. No, it's very straightforward. So I totally agree with you that whatever you mention is absolutely worth tracking and should be. Two more things. One, rather generic. Track as many touch points as possible. So let's say if you're selling a product, don't just measure the cost of the sale, the CPS. The more you track, the more control you have over your funnel and the more data you have to understand what's working, what's not. We used to have a D2C product and we really, really struggled with it. And we tried so many different angles and we created so many landing pages. And the landing page would have a genuinely really high LPCTR. And when I'm saying high, like 15-20% high and higher. But it was just not converting. So we're really struggling. So what we decided to do, we broke down the funnel into several parts, like touch points, and we tried to measure every single touch point. So we talk about CTR, but that's just ad level. We talk about LPCTR, but that's just editorial level. Then we add the cost of adding something to the basket. Then we measure, what's the cost of the user moving from a basket to the landing page, and then where the sale actually happens. And then we started measuring the engagement on every single page, essentially how much time is being spent, whether the scrollers are done, but using Clarity, for instance, Microsoft Clarity, to measure like whether the audience is spending time and engaging with certain elements. And long story short, we found out that in fact it wasn't the problem with editorials. The story was fine. It's the landing page of the brand that wasn't perfect, simply because of certain elements being a little bit cluttered. So what we had to do is completely rework the landing page, introduce additional payment methods, and make it more seamless to move from the basket to the actual landing page. Because without this knowledge, we would be blaming either the traffic source, saying, oh, the traffic source is shit,
right,
or we would be blaming, our creative team would say, you guys are all fired because you can't produce good copy. No, it was not the case. And equally, sometimes you're trying to fix the traffic source, but in fact you don't need to fix the traffic source. The traffic might be fine. Speak with your account manager and learn what are the best performing sources, best performing websites for the chosen geo. And if you're already on this website, but it's still not performing, the chances are it's something to do with the angle that you're using. So measure the LPCTR and then measure the ROI. So if your ROI is like minus 30%, that means the campaign is still salvageable. You might, try to fix it with some optimizations. But if you're way below that, and it's been the first couple of days and your LPCTR is like 4%, that means your story is not compelling enough. So measure these things, select an update, and then, adjust accordingly.
Exactly. So basically you have to track every step of your funnel. Correct. You have to measure everything before you make a final decision, because indeed there may be some problems with your creative, with landing page, or with the audience as well as the website. But we do not make a fast decision about the audience before we check all the steps of the funnel. Thank you, Andre. That was very detailed. Okay, guys. Yeah, we would like to talk about this for hours, and we can talk about this for hours, but we have a limited time. So I can see a couple of more questions from the chat. Do you have a forum or some discussion on Xevio platform, or just videos with your live stream now?
Yeah, forum.
You have a lot, right?
We have a community, but the way we used to position ourselves as the community, but then we eventually found out that First of all, there are enough communities, right? And we were trying to create a centralized community for native, so native ad specific. But what we found out that the audience does engage within the community, but they mostly stay not just because we create a new training or we're hosting a new webinar, but because we do live consulting. So people can join on a weekly basis, join a live session and ask any questions they like. And our experienced media buyers will answer. Some of these media buyers used to work for traffic sources, not just me. We have a couple of people or ex-employees. But at the same time, it's also, the Slack channel that we're introducing. So anyone could drop their questions, whether they're new or they're seasoned, and they can get their answers pretty quickly. So the short answer, videos, consulting, trainings, insights, anything. So feel free to join. It's not as expensive. We don't charge thousands of dollars for an entry fee.
Yeah, cool. And you guys help a lot of people. I have seen your live streams, you got, a lot of people that are involved in the business, different levels, but
That's true.
every time, even if you're in the industry, every time you learn something new, some new case, some new questions asked you never thought of. So I recommend that you guys check both live streams and then the contents of Xevio and NativeHub. That's really helpful.
Thanks so much.
Okay, moving on. The question from one of our users: can you guide me on how effectively target NRI audiences for matrimony
Yuli
business?
is replying.
I can see that. So basically, matrimony is a dating niche, and yeah, unfortunately, Yuli is right. Our content policy doesn't allow this niche in India at the moment. But again, we run a lot of campaigns in India, and our clients run a lot of campaigns. So you're not only limited with dating, matrimony offers, campaigns. So just contact us, and we'll find the best solution for the product that we can run actually in the region. Okay, moving on. I think I've got handle on the KPIs now.
That's more of a statement, I think.
Yeah. It's not a question. So guys, I have a couple of more regarding our platform. And one is a bit tricky, how to buy without money, how to sell without offering. So
How
basically,
to buy without money.
Yeah, this one is I guess is tricky. Probably the answer here is there is no way. You always have to invest. You always have to invest into something new. And if you start working with new format like native, for example, you have to have a significant budget for a test. By significant budget, I mean depending on the country, again, depending on the inventory you're going to buy, it should be some, a couple of hundreds of dollars, 500, 1,000 minimum for US. Yeah, it's a minimum. It's a minimum. You have to, again, getting back to the funnel, to optimization, you have to collect the data and make decisions and optimize the funnel, and then it pays off, right? So Andrew, what do you think about the budgets, and what is the best advice not to waste your budget and not to spend money, just burn it? Where do we start here?
My grandfather used to say you can only find free cheese in mousetraps. Yeah. So and I'm pretty sure it's universal and doesn't require translation. Like the mindset you should be applying to testing any traffic source is that you need to be prepared to lose a little bit before you start gaining. If you go to the gym, there needs to be some pain before the gain. If you would like to make some money from the investment, you first need to invest. It stems from the name. So the approach should be the following. You need to spend money to gain the data. Once you have the data, you can optimize and improve your campaign and start making money. Now, if you are afraid to spend big, do not. Find the geo that would be appropriate for your budget. It's absolutely possible in MGID. I mean, again, if your mate living next door tells you that he's making millions in the US, and you don't have the millions just yet, well, why don't you go to a geo that speaks the same language but isn't necessarily similar in size, meaning that it will be a little bit cheaper, or alternatively it will cost the same, but you would not have to collect that much data simply because it has less population. Let's say the UK has semi-identical buying power, somewhat similar interest in goods, like the US. In terms of the CPCs, UK tends to be a bit more affordable, but you don't need that big of a budget to test it properly. I'm not saying you should go with the UK, but I'm saying that's an analogy. Now, equally, if you know that something works in Spain, but Spain seems a little bit expensive for you, for instance, replicate it in Latin America. The language is a little bit different, so you might need, hire a local copywriter, or again, use some AI tools. But again, you shouldn't worry about spending money, rather find ways to invest your money in a smart way and leverage the situation you're in. So find a smaller geo, find an offer that doesn't necessarily cost a lot, because again, there are multiple schools of thought into how to optimize or how to collect enough data. I'm not going to go too much into it because some people see you need a certain number of conversions. Some people see you need a certain number of clicks. I'm in the second camp. So I typically say you need to have a number of clicks before making optimizations. Or some people say you just need to leave the campaign for 2 weeks and, watch the magic happen on its own. That's typically people who have a lot of money to lose. But for instance, let's say if we take the approach that I just talked about, or the approach that, let's say, people are saying certain number of conversions, it's only logical to pick the products that cost less, let's say lead generation, because you'd be looking at a CPA of, let's say, $20, $25 versus, let's say, a product that costs $50 to $100, which is a sweet spot for D2C products. Or if you're trying to promote VSLs, which are like 120, 140, whatever the amount is, and if you're looking at collecting certain number of conversions, naturally your budget would be higher. So like if we're talking about, finding good performance at a, let's say, at a tighter budget, not necessarily tight. So we're talking about, $1,000, $1,500, run some lead generation. Huh?
That's the best, not the best, but
not the best, 100% not the best. I would say, if you're uncomfortable with spending $1,000, don't do it. I think it was Warren Buffett, and sorry, I feel like I'm moving too much into storytelling myself, but I think it was like a dude who asked Warren Buffett, who is like a big, well-known investor, at his conference, like, hey, I have $100 to invest in. Like, what stock should I invest in? And Buffett said, well, don't invest in stocks, just go buy a book, right? So, like, if you don't have enough money to invest, to make more money, maybe reinvest in something else and come back, but with the right mindset and with the right resources, because the idea is not to waste your resources, but to multiply them. So come at the right time with the right mindset and with enough resources, and use it smartly, right? So once you do,
and talk to people, that know the business, talk to our support team, talk to Xevio team, and watch their live streams. Yeah, that will help you. Okay, guys, the last one, I guess, and it probably would be the most interesting question for the beginners. Are there any specific products or niches you can recommend to start with, to begin with? That's one is a good one, actually. So we touched a lot of niches while we were talking. It was most possibly the top niche that was on air today was weight loss. But I would add that it's not limited with weight loss only. It's not about that. Yeah, there are a lot of branded in the niches that can be run in specific regions, as Andrei mentioned, like solar panels. You just need to know the country. You just need to know the problems and solutions you are going to provide, right? So in US, that's retirement plans, insurance. That's what bothers people, right? In some countries, that's parasites. Basically, in tropical countries, there are a lot of parasites, and people care about this because that's a problem, and problem for their kids and so on. Any other examples from the top of your head, Andrew, right now?
I would say, you know,
Crypto is very trendy right now. Always
crypto is trendy. Yeah. It's a little bit hard for me because I mostly come from the agency space where we tend to work with more premium brands. But premium brand, like if you think about it, what a premium brand is, it's just something that is a bit better marketed and just a little bit better licensed, right? And in some cases, they've been in the market for a bit longer. Because let's say if you look at something that's performing really well now all around the world, and you know they have a Wikipedia page. 10 years ago, there were no name, and people said it's just a crappy affiliate offer. Well, everybody starts somewhere. I would say the way I split this, I typically split this in 4 categories. One is lead generation, which includes home improvement, it includes insurance, reliefs, and all sorts of things, which are similar to this. This is typically something that has longer funnel, so not something you would be able to sell straight away. So you need to warm up the audience with the content and then with the lead generation form, so somebody reapproaches them afterwards. Yuli is absolutely right here. Yeah, like in the US, these are the ones. US is a huge market. And you know, people typically live in homes versus flats, unless we're talking about large cities. So you would typically be looking at things that are, you know, fixing home. We're not talking about just solar panels or heat pumps. We're talking about insulation. We're talking about like elevators for senior people, walking bathtubs. Native tends to be on the senior side of things, so 45, 50 plus demographic, because this is the people who read the news from the original source, so the content rather than, let's say, TikToks and Twitters, or tends to be a much younger audience. So yeah, lead generation is one of those. Longer funnel, cheaper touch points. So if you're looking into, you know, launching on a tighter budget, look for this. Then bone and joint conditions, I would rather put this into the D2C category, which tends to split into 2 parts. One is health and beauty and supplements. The other one is gadgets / wearables, let's say shoes or pants or t-shirts. These can be sold on Native, trust me. It's just about finding the angle. This worked really well, but here it's very important to remember pricing psychology. We didn't talk about it here, but there is a psychology to how you price your product. And if your product is like overly expensive, say over $100, no one's gonna buy it. It's just not how it works, because Native is selling something on a whim. You don't really have the intent when you're on Native. Like you're just see something and you're like, oh, I like it, I want to buy it. How much is $50? I'll take it. But if it's like, ooh, 500, I need to talk to my husband, I'm not prepared to buy it. So yeah, and then you have so always like health D2Cs. Then you have arbitrage, which can be search arb or content arb. Again, probably not the most popular one, but it's still possible if you know how to run it. But it's the most.
It's a niche inside of the niche, right?
It's a niche inside a niche. It's rather complex. If you know how to run it, like you can make a lot of money, but maybe not as much as 5 years ago, but still a lot. And finally, there is apps and games. So there are browser games, in some cases mobile games with high LTV, or there are apps. And by apps, we can talk about, you know, it can be gambling apps, say slot machines, or something else. I haven't really seen gambling, like there's social gaming and there is non-social gaming. I haven't seen that many successful examples for non-social gaming working well on Native. But at the same time, I feel like it's such a growing niche these days, so we might see some surprises in 2025.
Okay, thanks. Yeah,
and dating, of course, we haven't mentioned dating. So, but dating is probably in the entertainment category somewhere.
Yeah, that's entertainment, and we should mind both in gambling and dating. We should mind the country we're on this in.
That's correct.
But guys, at MGID, we will help you. You know, check the offer, pass whether it's going to pass in moderation or not, or make some adjustments to your funnel just to make it compatible. Everything is possible. We just need to, you know, get as many details from you as possible, and then we are here to help all the time. Okay,
can confirm this. The guys are always available.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much, Andre. I think I wish we had more time to discuss and get into search arbitrage as well, and other more advanced topics. But this is not a part of this webinar. I think we should meet again and make some more advanced discussions and bring more guys to make it more fun. So thanks again, guys. You will get the link to this webinar and as well as the presentation. All the contacts, my contacts and Andre contacts are in there. You get your takeaway right away, immediately. And yeah, any other questions, any other comments, just message us and we will get back to you as soon as we can.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the week and have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.